And thank you for joining us on Wisconsin Tonight.
Now, a few weeks back, Milwaukee County leaders announced a plan to end chronic homelessness in Milwaukee in 3 years.
For more on what is actually a pretty ambitious county plan, we're joined by the county executive, Executive Abele. Thanks for coming in tonight.
Hey, great to be here.
Thank you, sir.
Define for us chronic homelessness.
Sure. So chronic homelessness is specific. It's a standard definition the federal government uses. It's people who have 3 times in 4 years been homeless at a shelter or are homeless for over a year. The number in Milwaukee of chronic homelessness that we've identified is about 195. We're pretty sure it's more like 300. But this is an issue that has been growing, and most metro areas have it.
And this is a new approach. Now, this is something that has never been done. Explain how you plan to do this.
So traditionally, the approach has been sort of a subsistence model where you provide shelters. Milwaukee has a bunch of homeless shelters, and they will always serve a purpose. But in '92, a guy named Sam Sambaras started what has become called the Housing First model, and that's what HUD nationally has moved towards, where the approach is permanent housing. And when they say housing first, the idea is when you find people are homeless, you don't say, we'll give you housing contingent on participation in programming, alcohol rehabilitation, job training, that sort of thing. The first is housing, no conditions, you take it. So people, interestingly, statistically, are much more likely to take it and then get involved in the programming. But where this program has been implemented, after 3 years, you're still over 90% of people who are housed. At 5 years, it's 68%. But what's really interesting is the 32% after 5 that aren't there anymore. About 80% of them do have housing, but they're paying for it on their own. And
really?
That's the home run.
That's unbelievable.
It's empowering people.
Yeah.
In the beginning, though, it's that situation of being itinerant, not having a permanent place to call your own. That can bring so many other problems into play.
Absolutely. About half of this population has issues with mental illness. Any of the major emergency rooms will tell you, and certainly the Behavioral Health Division, which we run, these are people we know, and a lot of times they get picked up again and again by the police department, by the fire departments, which is why the police chiefs and the fire chiefs are very excited about this. This is going to mean a lot less time in the back of a squad car for people who are going to end up at either an emergency room, which won't be the best care, or just something that isn't the best treatment. And instead, we're also adding a lot more staff who know housing, who know mental illness, and they'll take, that's who you call first. They go out, they handle folks, and right away get them to housing. So cops spend more time being cops and not waiting.
And not social workers.
Right.
And this is something that we have a big problem right now, and we have to deal with this and the mental health crisis.
And frankly, the more we can quickly get people aware that we've got these caseworkers out, there's been a lot of comment and coverage after what happened in Red Arrow. But if the folks in Starbucks knew, or any place like that, the first number to call is somebody who's an expert on mental illness and housing. And if that's the first person who gets there, who knows that issue, who knows exactly how to deal with it, maybe things like that end up in a better way. And that's not about blame. What I'm saying is we're filling a gap.
That makes a
now.
lot of sense.
While you're here, let's talk about a couple other big issues on your plate. The new Bucks Arena. Where is the momentum right now? It was a big rollout in Madison. It's cheaper to keep them. And things seem to be stuck in the weeds right now.
Well, things seem to be stuck in transportation. I was thinking of a good car metaphor there. Stuck in reverse, I don't know. But right now the legislature's been working on the transportation part of the budget, and I know there's a lot of well-intended people trying to get to an agreement, but it doesn't look like it's imminent. It goes sort of back and forth. Obviously, I'm a huge proponent of building the arena. I think it has a huge economic upside. And what I've been saying is, you guys rightly ask us, how do you justify a big public investment in an arena? And it's a good question you should ask us. And I say, good news, it's easy, because the return is so much bigger. The question you should be asking all of us as well, though, is who's going to be accountable if in 3 years we have an empty parkee still and now an empty Bradley Center, which has liabilities, and by the way, a big hole in the state budget. Voters should ask their representatives, hey, explain to me, if you're not going to vote for this, how you're going to fill that big hole in the state budget that's going to result from it. And I think people need to think about it that way too.
Very important. And you had also vetoed a plan to hire 30 more sheriff's deputies, and now obviously the county board overrode that. Now, your reaction to that? Yeah, I know. You've been there before, right?
Sure. Yeah, well, you know, in this issue, as I mentioned, the Sheriff's Department has recently been running deficits cut consistently, and I tell every single department and division head I have that I will hold them accountable for their budget and what they do. I tell voters all the time, every time I speak, hold me accountable. You should hold me accountable. But that's why I'm pretty comfortable saying you got to hold everybody accountable for real results, good management, and not having deficits. But one more thing that you should know that I'm excited about with the homelessness thing is...
Give me the last word
Way to
on
go
that.
back to the point.
I'm going back to the point. And here's the thing. If we pull this off in Milwaukee County, the reason the founder of Housing First came out to Milwaukee for it is we will be the biggest city to get to a functional 0. We're talking about eliminating this in 3 years. And the reason I'm excited about it is not just it's the right thing to do. We talk about problems here all the time, and we need to demonstrate to ourselves we can do more than just lower it by 10 or 20% and nick around the edges. We have to ask ourselves on all of these, what has to happen to solve a problem?
Yeah, well, these societal ills affect us all, really, and no one is immune, so we have to do something.
Chris Abele,
Lofty.
County Executive, thanks for coming in. We appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you very much,
Great
sir.
to be here.
We have more information about the plan to end chronic homelessness on our website. All you have to do is go to tmj4.com/Wisconsin Tonight.